Thank you, Mr. President, and I am truly proud to be your friend, and what a great job you do to guide the Senate and represent the people of Georgia. A moment into history. 1936, Burt Reynolds was born today. He was honored in 2003 at the Atlanta Film Festival, and he grew up in Waycross, Georgia, or somewhere in that area. He given us movies like Deliverance, which had none of my kinfolks in it. I want to make that clear. The Longest Yard, Gator, Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run, and Sharky's Machine, all filmed in Georgia. Mr. President, the journal's been read and found to be correct.
Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
Senate Bill 143 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 8 of Chapter 14 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to mechanics and material men.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 144 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 8 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to general provisions for housing authorities so as to limit the ability of city
Government
housing authorities.
oversight.
Senate Bill 145 by Senator Brass of the 28th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 4 of the Title 3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to local authorization and regulations for
Regulated
manufacture.
industries.
Senate Bill 146 by Senator Parent of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 4, Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to carrying and possession of firearms so as to establish the offense of making firearm accessible
Public
to a child.
safety.
Senate Bill 147 by Senator Parent of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide that counties and municipalities at their option may conduct an advanced voting on Saturday.
Ethics.
Senate Bill 148 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 28 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to General Assembly so as to create the 2021 Special Council on Tax Reform and Fairness for
Finance.
Senate Bill 149 by Senator Butler of the 55th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to primaries and elections generally so as to provide for Senate Bill 150 by Senator Butler of the 55th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide for
Ethics.
automatic. Senate Bill 151 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to prevent organized retail crime, to amend Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the OCGA, relating to selling and other trade practices so as to provide for definitions, to provide for certain record keeping.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 152 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to the state flag and other flags so as to add a language to the Pledge of Allegiance to the state flag.
Government oversight.
Senate Bill 153 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to education so as to provide for goal academies to provide
Education
for
and youth.
Senate Resolution 96 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, a resolution honoring the life and memory of Mr. Charles R. Lusk and dedicating an intersection in his memory and for other purposes.
Transportation.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
First reading of House bills and resolutions, please.
House Bill 97 by Representative Leverett of the 33rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 9 on Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to jurisdiction, power, and duties so as to require and
Special
provide.
judiciary.
House Bill 106 by Representative Clark of the 147th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 45-9-81 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to definitions regarding the Georgia State Indemnification Fund so as to replace the term
Veterans, military, and homeland security.
House Bill 134 by Representatives Anderson of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 14 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to open and public meetings so as to exclude meetings relating to cybersecurity, contracting, and planning.
Science and technology.
House Bill 153 by Representatives Widower of the 119th and others, a bill bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 15 of Chapter 1 of the Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to the fair business practices of 19.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary, please read the reports of our standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 88 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th District Chair. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Ms. Secretary, please read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 27 by Senator Thompson of the 14th and others. Professional licenses extend the time a member of the military has to qualify for the issuance of a license, electrical contractor, plumber. Senate Bill 43 by Senator Brass of the 28th and others. Non-Covered Eye Care Services Act, an act. Senate Bill 45 by Senator Thompson of the 14th and others. Professions and businesses, individuals who move to the state and establish residency to obtain a license by endorsement to practice certain professions and occupations in the state provide. Senate Bill 46 by Senator Burke of the 11th and others. Health, certain medical personnel to administer vaccines during public health emergencies under certain conditions authorized. Senate Bill 81 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others. Office of College and Career Transitions, change name to the Office of College and Career Academies. Senate Bill 87 by Senator Rhett of the 33rd and others. Senator Jack Hill Veterans Act, an act. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It's now time for our morning roll call. It's now time for our morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Right on schedule. Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 35th, 36th, 38th, 46, sir.
If I'm ever out, can I get you to excuse me? Without objection, the senators from the 35th, 36th, 38th, and 46th are excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 6th for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 6th is excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 31st for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 31st is excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd.
Good morning, Mr. President, and thank you. I rise to ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 26th.
Without objection, the senator from the 26th is excused. Are there any additional motions to excuse? The chair recognizes the Dean of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 2nd.
Without objection, the senator from the 2nd is excused. The secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. The secretary will unlock the machine, please. Have all senators voted? Their attendance. All senators voted your attendance. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. It's now time for a morning devotional. I ask that all senators please take your seats and cease all audible conversations. Doorkeepers, please secure the chamber. I'd like to recognize my good friend, the senator from the 34th, to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and to introduce to us our chaplain of the day.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify. Y'all have to forgive me for a second, because last year, if you were here, you might recall he was my pastor of the day. But for whatever reason, we never did find the answer, I was not feeling my best. I was taken over to Emory, and look at me today, standing before you with my pastor again, using what we do at my home church. The Reverend Jeffrey Scott Copeland is a native of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He received his ministerial license in 2001 and ordained in 2004 at our home church, Antioch Baptist Church North in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, under the leadership of the late Dr. Cameron Madison Alexander. Reverend Copeland is the pastor of Prospect Missionary Baptist Church in Lafayette, Georgia. Additionally, he serves full-time on the ministerial staff at Antioch Baptist Church North in Atlanta. Reverend Copeland is affiliated with the National Baptist Convention, USA, the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia, and the First North Georgia Baptist Association. Reverend Copeland served 4 years in the United States Navy prior to being honorably discharged. He earned an Associate of Science degree from the RETS Electronics Institute in Louisville, Kentucky, and a Bachelor's of Science degree in Christian ministry with honors at Point University in Atlanta, Georgia. His benevolence, charitable Christian experience, and service have not gone unnoticed. He was honored by Antioch Baptist Church North as Man of the Year in 1999 and by the Concerned Black Clergy at its 2001 awards banquet with its Overcomer of the Year award. In 2008, he received a Community Service Award from the Produce of the Power Recovery Ministry for outstanding contributions and service to the greater Atlanta community in the area of substance abuse. Reverend Copeland is married to Larissa Copeland and has a son, Jeffrey Noah Copeland. The family resides in Marietta, Georgia. I now give you Reverend Jeffrey Copeland.
Thank you too, and forgive me, but I choose to keep my mask on. But thank you to my good friend and sister, Senator Valencia C., for that introduction. to this Lieutenant Governor, Jeff Duncan, and to President, Senator Butch Miller, and to all of my brothers and sisters and servants in this great state of Georgia. We bring you greetings from the Prospect Missionary Baptist Church and all of her members in the great Queen City of Northwest Georgia, Lafayette, Georgia, where Representative Steve Tarrant and Senator Jeff Mullis serves as our legislators. And we certainly thank you once again for this opportunity. Lieutenant Governor has given me the privilege to speak until 6 o'clock this evening, he said, when he has dinner. But it'll probably be just me here. But I have a burden that the Lord has placed on me for this devotional message, and it comes out of the book of Isaiah, chapter 6. And let me say real quickly, thank you to Sister Emily Anderson for her ministry of making all of the chaplains feel like they have something to say when we don't feel always that way. Thank you to her service in the Secretary's office. The book of Isaiah, chapter 6. The book of Isaiah, chapter 6, and verse 1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Amen. I think that's enough. Want to just speak for these few moments from the subject of what we need now. What we need now. God's call to this prophet Isaiah came during a very dark time. It was a very dark time in the history of Judah. The scripture says it was in the year that King Uzziah died. It was also a time when this chosen people had walked away from God, and God had judged them. It was then that the Lord called this prophet Isaiah into service. And it was then when Isaiah answered the call, when he said, "Here am I, send me." He made himself available to God's will for his life. And that's a picture of a full life when you avail yourself to serving him and his purpose. And I want to commend each one of you on this day for your service to this state, but more so to our God. When you're called into service, don't always expect an easy path. But as a leader, expect some trials and tribulations, some good trouble. Jesus Christ says, be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. Isaiah served during a time when the king he had known, Senator C., had died. But it was during that time that God showed himself. He showed who he was and his plan to save. And Isaiah connects this encounter by saying it was in the year that King Uzziah died. Are you praying with me? King Uzziah had made a great impact for good, Brother Miller. Under his leadership, he had accomplished much. He had established the nation politically and militarily. But more importantly, he had established them spiritually. For he sought God in prayer. But something happened to this king in his final years. And you know, you got to be careful. It's good to make sure you start good, but it's better to end good. He had established peace and prosperity, but he got full of himself. His success went to his head, and he became proud and arrogant and unfaithful. And all of us have to watch ourselves, because all of us are prone to ease God out. And that's what we talk about a lot in the substance abuse arena. A lot of people with addiction problems, 9 times out of 10, have eased God out or never had him in. It's our nature. That's what happened to our great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Adam. They eased God out. And the most dangerous time for us as a people, and as I chase to the end, the most dangerous time for us as a people and a nation is not when we're going through trying times, but it's in times of peace and prosperity. That's when we get beside ourselves. But it's only by the grace of God that we are who we are and where we are. King Uzziah started out good, but he had a sad ending. And his death troubled Isaiah. And when death comes, it ought to trouble you. I don't care how many scriptures you know. I don't care how strong you are. Death is troubling. And I don't have to go into this, but in this nation we have had over 400,000 deaths. And my heart goes out to all of those families. As a minister, I have had the opportunity and the privilege to pray and to proclaim and to comfort families over 40 or 50 since this happened. Over 100 and something we've had to minister to. My hat goes off to all of those on the front line. And I pray that at some point, some of those who have to do funerals and stuff, they're put on the front line. But Isaiah, along with the nation of Israel, was troubled. They were troubled. They had many questions and concerns about their future. Where do we go from here? What does the future hold for us? It was a tragic event. And all of us in this nation are dealing with some tragic and trying times. But right in the midst of Isaiah's despair, he sees something. The Bible said that in the year that King Uzziah died, he saw also the Lord. I'm through now. He saw also the Lord. My brothers and sisters, in the time of darkness, and Lord knows we are in some dark times, you better be able to see more than troubled times. But you better be able to see the Lord. You better be able to see God in all of this. Isaiah saw something beyond darkness and death. And that's all I want to say to you this morning. As you plan and debate, see more than your differences, but see what Isaiah saw. He saw the Lord. His eyes were taken off of the events of the nation, and his little world, and he fixed them on a Savior. His mind was taken up from the passing of a king to the one who never gets sick, never gets old. In the year King Uzziah died, he saw the Lord. And I believe that the Lord was saying to Brother Uzziah and to us today that my plan is bigger than your problem. Oh, let me say that again. You look kind of cool. But my plan is bigger than your problems. And so we need to look at what he saw. Isaiah said, I saw him. And my question to you as you go into your session, what do you see? What do you see? Because when you see the Lord, you can't remain the same. I saw him this morning, Sister C. When I woke up this morning, it was dark, but the sun was shining. I saw him when he touched me with a finger of love this morning. That's why we're here this morning, because he gave you another day. What do you see? I can see the Lord. And you can't see the Lord and not have some hope in this country. You can't see the Lord and not speak to your neighbor because of their color or their creed. Help me, somebody. When you see the Lord, he changes you. And that's all I want to say. That's what we need. That's what we need. We need to see him. Isaiah saw him. How did he see him? He saw him sitting high. He was sitting high. See, and there's no one higher than him. He sits high. His thoughts are higher than ours. His ways are much higher than ours. Now, thank God that he sees, he sits high, and he looks low. And he was sitting on the throne. And let me tell you, no matter how dark it is, he's still on the throne. He's still orchestrating the wind and the waves. He's still getting the sun up, and birds are flying, and dogs are barking. He's still on the throne. He's still giving life to those who have lost. He's still on the throne. And so I pray that you see something today. I pray that you see more than what's on your desk. But see the one who sits high and looks low. Isaiah said the earth is full of his glory. It's full of his glory. And somebody's saying, well, how do you see that with all of the darkness? You got to see beyond the darkness. And as I told Prospect in Lafayette, Georgia, in the mountains, northwest Georgia, morning is coming. Georgia, morning is coming. But you got to get through the night. Morning is coming. What we need now is a God perspective. So hold the banner up high. Keep pressing. Keep serving. Because God is watching you. Amen.
Senate will come back to order. Are there any unanimous consents? Chair sees none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd for a point of personal privilege. Does the senator from the 33rd have a point of personal privilege?
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. Just two quick announcements. For some of y'all, you may not realize that this is Chinese New Year, and this is the year of the ox. Starting on February 12th, which is the day after today, the Chinese Lunar New Year Day begins and lasting until January 31st of 2022. It is known as the Year of the Ox. People born under this sign of the ox have an honest nature and are known for diligence, dependability, strength, and determination. These reflect traditional conservative characteristics. And if you see somebody and it's Chinese New Year, just say, Ni hao ma, which means, how are you? Also, one more thing, Ron Bugle wanted me to remind everybody that next Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, and he will be offering ashes all day on that day in the Capitol. Lent is the 40 days from Ash Wednesday to the Saturday before Easter. Lent is often described as a time of preparation and an opportunity to go deeper with God. Also, Ron wanted me to remind y'all, if you see somebody with some ash on their head, they didn't forget to wash their faces because of Ash Wednesday. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield.
Chair recognizes the senator from Statesboro for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be at the well for the first time. I'd like to recognize a special lady from Evans County, Georgia, Claxton, Georgia, Miss Louise Wilkerson. Miss Wilkerson is a native of Evans County. She's a 1958 graduate of Evans County High School and a 62 graduate of Savannah State University, earning an advanced degree from Armstrong State University and Georgia Southern University. She began her teaching career with the Evans County school system in 1962 and retired after 35 years of service as a classroom teacher and media specialist. After retirement, she spent 2 years working at the Claxton Regional Youth Detention Center as a classroom clerk and librarian. While at the RYDC, she assisted in establishing a library for the detention center use. Ms. Louise believes that service to mankind is a service to God, as many of us in this room do. She continues to give back to her community as a dedicated member and worker for numerous civic, religious, and community endeavors. She is a member of the First African Missionary Baptist Church and appointed member of the Evans County Board of Registrars, including serving as a poll worker for all elections. A graduate of Leadership Evans, the Rosebud Garden Club, life member and past president of the Georgia Association of Garden Clubs, life member of Georgia Association of Retired Educators, a member of Savannah State University alumni, past matron of Sweet Evening Breeze, number 269, Order of the Eastern Star, and Alpha Theta Zeta of Zeta Phi Beta sorority of the Savannah chapter. Presently, Ms. Louise is an active volunteer, spending much time and energy serving with Action PAC, appointed board member, Evans County Community Center executive board member, Evans County Cares executive board member, Georgia Cares helping with Medicare and senior citizens, and other community projects. She was awarded the Distinguished Service Award in 2016 by the Claxton Evans County Chamber of Commerce for her tireless contributions to her community. Ms. Louise's latest contribution to her community is working on the creation of the Evans County African American Archive and Museum. Under her leadership, historical documents, photos, memorabilia, and other significant items have been collected, archived, and displayed in this impressive museum. When I was talking to Miss Louise this morning, she told me one of the last items to go in the museum is a picture of our own Senator, former Senator Jack Hill. Louise and her husband, Eugene, have 2 children and 2 beautiful grandchildren. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I rise today to honor one of our great leaders from Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up right here in Metro Atlanta. I remember our most prominent buildings in our downtown skyline were the Western Peachtree, the Coca-Cola building, and the Hyatt. I remember always asking my mom as we drove through downtown, "What is that flying saucer? It looks like the Jetsons." And I recall her always telling me, "Honey, it is just a restaurant." And I would ask, "Well, can we go there?" And she would say, "Someday, yes, we will. And I'm sure you will be there many times in the future." I remember the holiday treat of taking the elevator up to Macy's downtown to the top of the building to ride the Pink Pig. I recall wearing my best lace-printed dress to Easter egg hunts in Piedmont Park and being in awe of the Atlanta police riding horseback, watching the festivities. I remember my first trip to Hartsfield Atlanta Airport at the age of 8, sometime after its grand opening on September 1980. Back then, it was a marvel. I remember jumping on the rapid plane train and thinking, this is the coolest yet frightening trip, part of this trip at the airport. And doesn't it kind of seem like you can never get on that train fast enough? And then when you do get on, you got to hold on for dear life. It's kind of intimidating. I also remember the man responsible for Hartsfield expansion and how his visionary ideas would impact its future success. Maynard Holbrook Jackson, Jr., the first African-American mayor of Atlanta. At my age, I didn't quite understand why my parents always spoke of him with great pride. I thought Atlanta mayors were always African Americans. It would not be until I was a little older that I understood how significant his win was. The son of a Baptist minister, his mother a professor of French, he himself a Morehouse political science graduate. Receiving his law degree at North Carolina Central University School of Law, later finding work as an attorney for the National Labor Relations Board, a member of the Democratic Party, gaining the office of Vice Mayor of Atlanta in 1969, then earning victory, appointed mayor the year after I was born in 1973, marking what would become the turning point for the New South. And now it seems that term, we are revisiting that term, New South again. With Atlanta being 50% Black, Jackson understood the importance of minorities sharing in the city's prosperity. He gave minorities priority on municipal contracts and allowed minorities to do business with government. Even with all of this great work, his ideas and opportunities, Hartsfield Airport will be his greatest achievement. It was the largest construction project in the South, costing $500 million, designed by Stevens and Wilkerson, Smith and Henchman, and Griles, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and many minority airport architects and planners. Today, Atlanta boasts the world's largest and busiest airport and is home to the top airline in the nation. In his third bid for mayor, Mayor Jackson pulled off another critical triumph for Metro Atlanta by securing the 1996 Olympics, a victory that would put Georgia on the national stage, spur growth, attract an influx of people seeking to call Georgia home, and companies ready to invest in our progressive city. Renamed Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport after his death on June 23, 2003. Hartsfield resides in Atlanta, but Hartsfield resides in Georgia, but Hartsfield is Atlanta. It belongs to Atlanta because that is the legacy that Mayor Jackson intended. As we look around this wonderful, booming city, observe the remnants of the 1996 Olympics, and watch airline jets descend over our heads to land, and appreciate our new skyline, let us remember our visionary, Mayor Maynard Jackson Jr. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 5th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. My friends and colleagues at the Senate, I'm rising today to honor the lives of 6 Georgians who were lost on January 28 in Gainesville, Georgia, at the Foundation Food Group plant. The nitrogen leak has been well documented in the news. I also want to take a moment in this body to recognize the tragedy or its impact on our state. You should never forget their names. Jose de Jesus Elias Cabrera was 45. Corey Allen Murphy, 35. Nelly Perez Rafael, 28. Saul Suarez Bernal, 41. Victor Velez, 38. And Edgar Vera Garcia, 28. Georgia is the nation's #1 poultry state, producing more than 31 million pounds of chicken and 7 million table eggs every day, according to the Georgia Poultry Federation. Chicken are the largest single agricultural commodity in the state, producing over $2.4 billion in farm income annually. Poultry makes up half of all state agricultural economy. It is essential to our well-being, but we can't forget the human cost of producing that well-being. You might eat a chicken biscuit for breakfast, or pull through a Chick-fil-A for lunch, or sit down with your family around a rotisserie from the grocery store for dinner, but seldom do we, as a people, celebrate the people whose work, day in and day out, actually put that food onto America's table. Many of these workers are immigrants, just like me. Many are undocumented, but their lives are no less essential. They are essential to our health, to our communities, to our economic security. They have families, children who attend our schools, aunts and uncles who go to worship with us, and parents and grandparents who patronize our stores and restaurants. I ask today, we remember these workers, that we honor their sacrifice and the sacrifices that so many more in our communities make to keep us fed and maintain our status as #1 state for business in the country. It isn't just companies that makes us great, but the real human being who labor within them. Human being who often lives in places such as Hall County, where simple traffic violation could result in their deportation, even as our state depends on their labor to feed the country. I ask my friends and colleagues to take a brief moment of silence to honor their lives and contribution to the well-being of our state.
Senators, ask for us to rise for a moment of silence, please. Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 14th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. We all have an opportunity to invest in people's lives. Many of these young people look up to us in the positions we're in. Today, I rise to honor one of those young men. You see, Alex Martin Ayers, aged 23, unexpectedly passed away on February 5th, 2021 in Cartersville. Alex was born December 4th, 1997 to William and to the late Carol Paul in Nashville, Tennessee. Alex may have led a life that was short-lived, but he lived every moment to the fullest. His family always gave him encouragement to be the best man he could ever be. In his young years, Alex and his family lived in Wyoming for a short time. This is where he dabbled in acting. In 2000, they moved to Cartersville. This is where his life really began. Alex attended Trinity School and was a Cub Scout. He then was a spelling champion and made a great role model for others. He was baptized and attended his regular church faithfully, where his relationship with the Lord grew. In grade school, Alex was honored with leadership awards, and in his 8th grade, he went on the district spelling competition where he took second. The same year, he attended Washington, D.C. as a speaker at the National Leadership Convention. There were so many other hobbies he had: drums, time with family, soccer. But mostly, those in North Georgia know Alex as a figment at Starbucks. Alex filled his time responsibly. Personally, I had the chance to work with Alex when he was dual enrolled from Cass while he was navigating Georgia Highlands College, where he obtained an associate's degree in science. Then, 3 times in a row, he was on the dean's list. He then moved on to KSU, Kennesaw State University, where I had the privilege to work with him as he sought a bachelor's degree in criminology. Why do I bring this up, ladies and gentlemen? This young man, if you've been to Starbucks in Cartersville, this young man, this midget, everyone in Northwest Georgia knew. Not only memorized your order if you pulled up, but Starbucks was so struck with what the impact he had on the community, they shut down in honor of Alex. If you pull to Cartersville right now, you'll see hundreds, if not thousands, of flowers in tribute to Alex. Right now, they have a viewing 3 days because they can't get enough people in to visit. I bring this up to say, regardless of where you are in life, regardless of whether you're a midget, whether you're 6 foot tall, you never know the impact you have on other people's lives. Alex, many of us miss you, my friend, and one day look forward to seeing you again in heaven. But until that day, I pray that we have the same impact on lives that you do. And with that, Mr. President, I ask for just a moment of silence for Alex and his family.
Senators ask for us to rise for a moment of silence.
Amen. And I yield well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Health over everything else. Let me say that again. Health over everything else. But just as a reminder, oral health is just important as overall health for all of us. Today is Dental Hygienist Appreciation Day. I want to take a moment to recognize the Georgia Dental Association hygienists, which represents more than 7,600 licensed professionals who, as preventive specialists, actively promote good oral health and the prevention of oral disease. Governor Brian Kemp proclaimed Thursday, February 11, 2021, as Dental Hygienist Appreciation Day, and the Georgia Dental Hygienists Association is distributing dental goodies bags to your offices as a reminder that maintaining good oral health is an essential element of maintaining good overall health. Dental hygienists across Georgia give their time and efforts to provide oral health care to individuals in need, such as children, senior citizens, low-income individuals, and individuals with disabilities. They work not only in private dental offices, but also public health facilities, schools, long-term care settings, hospitals, and charity clinics and research facilities to provide the best possible oral health care for all citizens. The Georgia Dental Hygienists Association also works with many other organizations such as Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, Voices for Children, Georgia Coalition for Aging, and Georgia Oral Health Care Coalition to expand access to preventive dental care to underserved populations across this great state of Georgia. Please join me in thanking the Georgia Dental Hygienists Association and all of Georgians' licensed dental hygienists for their professionalism and expertise in working to improve the oral health of Georgians. Thank you. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for a point of personal privilege for the purpose of introducing our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, our Doctor of the Day may be familiar to some of you. Dr. Florence LaCroix was here just in recent weeks serving as Doctor of the Day, very selflessly giving her time. She is an anesthesiologist of 33 years of practice and continues practicing at Northside Riverdale Outpatient Imaging Center. And she is a Vanderbilt, did a residency at Vanderbilt University and has been on the faculty in Connecticut at Emory University and the University of Connecticut. And her research and her emphasis was on acute lung injury and asthma. She's practiced also at Wellstar Kennestone, Atlanta Medical Center North, Northside, and several outpatient surgery centers. She's an adjunct professor at Andrew Young School of Public Policy now down at Georgia State with research focusing on medical liability, patient safety, and physician burnout. We've heard of that. We want to thank Dr. LaCroix, who is, of course, a member of the American Medical Association, the Medical Association of Georgia, and the Medical Association of Atlanta, a board of directors member there. So she is in the medical aid station today, and we hope that each of you remains in good health and doesn't require any medical attention, but we want to thank and recognize Dr. LaCroix for her service, her long years of service, and her service for us today under the Gold Dome. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 24th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've never come to the well 2 days straight, but today I have to come with a burdened heart. Many of our chaplains have told us to live each day like it may be our last. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say that we lost a dear friend last night in a car accident back home. He's from Lincoln County. His name's Richard Gooseby. He owns restaurants in Columbia County and in Lincoln County, but a man that gave back to his community tenfold. I just want us to think about their family and always remember, let's live like this is our last day. I ask for a moment of silence.
Senators, ask for us to rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Chair recognizes the senator from the 44th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senators, I rise this morning to honor the life of Mr. Charles Stinson, who passed away last week. He served our country in the United States Army, a graduate of Clark College and Atlanta University. He's a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. He married his sweetheart, childhood sweetheart, Emily Davis, and they were married for 67 years. The father of 3 boys. They were world travelers, having visited almost all of the United States, Europe, Africa, Asia, Central America, Canada, and the Caribbean. They even had the pleasure of meeting with Nelson Mandela in South Africa. So we wanted to pause today to let the family know that they are in our prayers, and we honor the life and legacy of Mr. Charles Stinson, Jr. Mr. President, I yield the will. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? The chair sees none. Is there objection to adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Chair sees none. We are now moving on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 49?
Senate Bill 49 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 8 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to standards and requirements for construction, alteration, etc., of buildings and other structures, so as to provide procedures for alternative plan review, permitting and inspection by private professional providers, so as to allow applicants to elect whether to retain at their own expense a private professional provider to provide required plan reviews or inspections of certain buildings, and for other purposes. Mr. President, on February 9th, 2021, the Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted to Senator Anderson of the 24th District Chair. The State and Local Government Operations offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 49. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 8 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to standards and requirements for construction, alteration, etc., of buildings and other structures, so as to provide procedures for alternative plan review and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th to present Senate Bill 49, his first bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm excited today to come to the well for the first time to present Senate Bill 49 with its subcommittee. It has to do with private providers of building inspections and plan review. Due to local government offices closures as a result of COVID-19 restrictions, March 20th, governor's executive order to allow applicants to hire private professionals to perform construction plan review and building inspections without having to wait for the statutory time limits. This proposal would codify that portion of the executive order. I'll go through some of the highlights of the bill. First, applicants would still need to submit completed application to the county. Secondly, the county would still make a determination whether or not it could perform the regulatory action inspection within the statutory time frame. Third, if the applicant chooses to use a private provider for these services, the regulatory fee for the county would be cut in half. And then fourth, if the county determines that it could have performed the service within the statutory time frame, the county shall charge a convenience fee not to exceed the the full amount of the actual regulatory fee associated with the service, regardless whether the applicant lets the county perform the service or elects to use a private provider. I'll now tell you about what the sub add and changes. This is a friendly substitute. The new language was brought to us by a proposal of an amendment from the Home Builders Association of Georgia. We also received a letter of support for the proposed amendment language from the Building Officials Associations of Georgia. There's 2 points to be made within the substitute. The first, the substitute to Senate Bill 49 includes qualified inspectors as defined in OCGA 8-2-26 within the definition of private professional providers. Secondly, the substitute further clarifies qualified inspectors would only be allowed to provide services specific to their certificate or license. Mr. President, I yield the well for questions.
You might regret that. Chair recognizes the distinguished Rules Chairman.
Senator Yield.
Yes, sir.
Looky here. In your bill, when we deal with permits, usually we want to make sure the bill has some moral implications and make sure that everything is done appropriately. I noticed that your bill does not have the words moral turpitude in it. Could you explain why?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Reading the definition of moral turpitude, it's
turpentine?
Turpentine. It's a wide definition, but one that I kind of hung to was, unaccountable, depravatory, any base or vile conduct. So that's the reason it's not in the bill.
And let me applaud you for knowing this, my question in advance. So I will remember that. Senator Yield?
Yes, sir.
Do you and the senator from the 56 and the former Senator Judson Hill, do y'all get your hair done at the same place?
As I am a proud member of the Senate Hair Caucus, I'm the vice chair, by the way, and the distinguished senator from the 56th is our chairman. There's a lot of work that goes into our hair. I mean, any proposals that anybody would like to join the committee, it's a very sought-after committee and very hard to attend, but I tell you, the process is quite strenuous to get our hair to look this good.
No further questions.
Does the senator continue to yield?
Yes, I do.
I'll try to find you a harder senator than that. Chair recognizes the distinguished Judiciary Chair for a question.
Does the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, is this the governor's bill?
Yes, sir, it is the governor's bill.
Do you further yield?
Yes.
Looking ahead on the calendar, do you also carry bills for the First Lady as well?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yield for some more questions.
I do.
So given that you got this bill on the calendar first and the First Lady's bills further down the calendar, is it safe to say you believe the governor's bills are more important than the First Lady's bills?
As a man that's been married for 17 years, I pause to make sure I answer this question correctly, and the answer would be no. If Mama's not happy, nobody's happy. So her bills would definitely take precedent.
One last question, if you will.
Yes, sir.
So if I've got heartburn about some of your bills, would you rather somebody vote against the governor's bills or the First Lady's bills?
I plead the fifth.
This isn't a courtroom. Do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th for a question.
Does the senator yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator, reading your bill, am I correct that you're stating if the county or the municipality says they cannot provide the service, that the developer then can go out and hire a county or municipality approved person to review the plans within the 30-day period and the 2-day inspection period. And if some point during that or after that, the county determines that they could have provided the service, then the customer, the taxpayer who's doing the development, could be required to pay the county a minimum of half of what they would have normally charged if they would have provided the service?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Does the senator further yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, could you name another business? Let's say if I go to buy a Honda. And this particular Honda dealership does not have the vehicle that I want, the exact vehicle I want, but another Honda dealership that's owned in full or partially by a good friend of mine and yours has that vehicle, then I go and pay the full amount for that vehicle, but then I have to drive back across town and pay that other dealer at least half for his vehicle, even though he didn't have what I wanted? Can you name another business that could do that, Senator?
No, sir, I couldn't. You know, the comment I would make to that, as far as the regulatory fee, the 50%, you know, and I understand, you know, that the counties, there still would be some work that would be required if they choose to use that third-party provider. There would still be a review process as it comes into the county, you know, and then there would also be some processes and things that the county would still have to do.
Does the senator continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Would those other services they will offer, would they be primarily administrative services and not to the level that the taxpayer would be receiving from the third-party contractor that was brought in and being paid?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
And does the senator continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Am I clear that what we're attempting to do is codify a provision that was put in place during an emergency when we understood that there would be shortages of non-essential personnel that may qualify in this, and now we are going to codify that into law so that this will stand until it doesn't?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Thank you, Senator.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
There's more lights now than when you started. Chair recognizes the distinguished member of the Hair Club, the senator from the 56th.
Thank you, Mr. President. That would be Chairman.
My apologies.
Accepted. Will the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, you mentioned you were the vice chairman of a certain caucus. In your new role, I have been petitioned during your presentation by both the majority and the pro tem to become ex officio members of that club. Would you allow them to join?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. And one other question. This is rather serious. I'd like to direct you to line 285 on the bill, LC 364614-ECS. That says all laws and parts of laws in conflict of this act are repealed. Would you please just give us a detailed list of which laws you repealed and why?
As the senator so speaks.
Does the senator continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
He's going to try to wait us out. Chair recognizes his good friend, the senator from the 28th, for a question. Brace for impact.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, do you yield, Senator?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me why I was not invited to the Hair Caucus?
Simply, you just need to make application, and then we'll go through a rigid, you know, approval process.
Well, the bigger question I have, if you'll further yield.
Yes, sir.
When I mentioned this to you earlier, and I talked about potentially running for chairman of this Hair Caucus, can you comment as to why you voted for the senator from the 56 as chairman over me? And before you do, I'll go ahead and tell everyone, if you'll yield. Is it not true that you voted for him as chairman because you thought he'd be kicked out in the next year because his hairline is receding pretty quickly? Is that not true?
No, that is not true. Yeah, the reason I voted for the distinguished chairman was, we share the same style of hair. My wave goes a little bit higher than his because I'm a little more vertically challenged than the chairman. So that adds a couple inches of height to me. So that's my basis for voting for him as chairman.
No short jokes, please.
Recommendation from the chair here, it might have to do with the amount of gel that you put on your hair. Maybe a further
Agreed.
opportunity would be to put more gel. Sir, not certain we're going to have enough time in the day, but do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 19th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
Yes, sir.
First of all, Senator, I know you've put a lot of time into this, and I appreciate the efforts you've put into this bill. We know that you also care about every word that's put in here, so I want to ask you about a couple of them. I know that every one of them matters. On page 2, lines 21 and 23, you've added the word professional before architect and before engineer. Is it true that that's really just a swipe at our friends from Georgia Tech?
No, sir.
Thank you for clearing that up. I think it probably helps you pick up at least one vote. The second thing I note is that in the Appropriations Committee, we get minutes from all the other committees' meetings, and we know you had a question in your regular committee about the letters EC at the top of the page. And we know they cleared that up for you. So my question now is, can you tell me what the words ECS, or the letters ECS, mean at the top of this page?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I can. It's Executive Council Substitute.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what you get for that Georgia Tech comment. Chair recognizes do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 41st for a question.
Does the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, I acknowledge we've spoken about this already, but I just want to get some clarity on line 111. Following up on the senator from the 29th's question, it says that you've added the words "or both," which would mean that I could pay the full fees to the private person who does my review, and then should the city or county decide to, and it doesn't explain to me, or does it explain to me why they might decide, they could turn around and charge me the full fees on line 111. Could you speak to that, please?
Yes. The intent is if the builder or contractor decides to move forward with the private provider, and the county, and they initiate that, then they'll be due 50% of what the total fee would be initially. And if the county can prove that they were able to perform that service for the builder within that statutory time frame, then they could charge a convenience fee up to the full amount of the fee.
Does the senator continue to yield?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So I understand what you intend to do with this bill. However, paragraph 9, I continue to have some questions about it because it says, I'll quote it here, that the regulatory fees and charges which were required by paragraph 5 or 6 of this subsection, or both as applicable, which would therefore mean that I would pay 100% to the private person, and I could end up having to pay 100% to the regulatory, to the county as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding. Could you help me, please?
Yes. I mean, like I said before, the intent is that the county's got to prove that they can provide that service before they could charge that additional convenience fee or the full amount.
Sure. Does the senator further yield?
Sure.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I understand the intent. I just do not believe that this bill actually reaches the intent.
Okay. Thank you.
Does the senator yield?
Yes.
Does the senator, you had hesitation in your voice.
I was getting some hand signals, but yes, I do yield.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the freshman senator from, I believe it's Buford, yield?
Yes.
The city there, I wonder about sometimes, but I noticed on multiple lines here, you have the word affairs. On almost 30 lines, you're talking about private professionals. Line 200, submission by a private professional. Now, unlike the senator from the 53rd, I don't get into moral turpitude, but I just ask the question, is there anything in this bill that bars campaign funds from being used to hire these private professionals?
As the senator so speaks.
You've been briefed on this experience, it appears.
Yes, I did my homework, Mr. President.
Do you continue to yield?
No, sir, I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 39, the nays are 13. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Congratulations, Senator. All right, we're going to take up the budget, and the chair's going to recognize the senator from the 19th for a motion from his desk.
You may do it. We look so much alike. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 80.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 80 by Representative Ralston of the 7th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend an act making and providing appropriation for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021. Second. Mr. President, the House offers the following amendment submitted by Representative England of the 116th. Amend the Senate substitute to House Bill 80 by inserting the numbered sections and amounts appropriated therefore as contained in the attached document, House Bill 80 Senate substitute, as amended by the House, in lieu of the corresponding numbered sections and amounts appropriated therefore as contained in the Senate substitute, which are hereby stricken. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the Appropriations Chairman to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Still writing the notes, and this is moving really quickly. As I told you, we've been getting along, working really well and hand in hand with the House and with OPB on the budget. And generally, you know, at this point in time, you're teeing up for a conference or something like that. But because we've been able to work so closely together, our friends in the minority party helping us as well, we're actually in a position to agree with the House's amendment to our Senate substitute to their original bill and avoid a conference in this situation. I want to walk you through the changes. There's really, about 7 changes I want to point out to you that are different from the bill you voted on just earlier this week. The biggest change is employee pay. You heard the announcement of the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker yesterday, where due to some federal monies and fourth quarter FMAP savings, the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker have all proposed that we do a one-time $1,000 pay raise bonus to state employees, 57,000 state employees who've been frontline workers during this process, including our DOT people who have been cleaning restrooms, our public health officials who've been putting shots in arms, our Department of Labor workers who are pulling 12 and 14-hour days to make sure that claims get paid out, all across the state, 57,000 employees. There are 2 groups that are not included in that category. One is the Board of Regents. They are not included, you understand, for constitutional reasons. The Board of Regents, we simply write a check to the Board of Regents, and because of the Georgia Constitution, they allocate those funds. We have been in discussions with Chancellor Wrigley, however, and they intend, we believe, to follow the state plan. They've been extremely open and forthcoming with how they intend to use their federal funds there. The other group that is exempt is you, the 256 of us. We are part-time workers. We are not full-time workers. We will not be paid a $1,000 bonus. I know all of you were waiting on that, but you expected it already. The second area where our budget now differs from what we sent across the hall earlier is in testing. We had made some reductions in testing. We thought that there were less tests that were going to be given based upon bills that we had passed. It turns out we're under a few contracts that we may have to pay those contracts for this year before we renegotiate them. So we had to do some add backs and meet the House on their numbers for testing. There was also a change in public safety where we had added some increased some funds for potential educational advancements and tier advancements in public safety. There was an agreement with the House that those are new changes and probably should be best saved for the 2022 amended. So what we did is took those funds and really just put them back, plowed them back into public safety, into our Department of Public Safety, where you'll see them used there. There's one other change of almost $500,000. You've gotten a lot of letters. You've come to talk to me during this time about concerns you've had from your constituents in domestic violence shelters. Remember that the federal change in law pulls out a substantial sum of money. It's a federal grant, the VOCA grant. We'll talk more about that offline if you'd like to. But the change in federal law will leave them with a pretty big hole this year. We're going to try to fill what we can from a state level. Again, realizing that that federal grant was so large, we're not going to be able to fill it all. But we tried to put in almost $500,000 to fill that hole. There was a change also in the medical cannabis and ag relations, where we're trying to get that group started and off the ground. We had to do a little bit of an ad there. One other change, we were originally at, I believe, 513 buses. We moved to 520 school buses that the budget on your desk will buy. That is directly attributable to each vote of each one of you. So thank you for helping us move to that number there. And the last change that I think is significant to mention here is where we originally had roughly $49,000 in a change, new position in the Department of Labor in line 215. You'll see that the House saw our $49,000, actually doubled it, and now it's at $100,000 for the purposes that we talked about previously, including providing management and some stability and some fortitude to the staff over there at the Department of Labor to help get the Department of Labor unemployment claims that many of you have discussed, help assist them in getting those paid, and also in answering the audit questions that have been proposed. We've been hearing back, though, that they've been working extremely well with audits, and we appreciate their help with that. Those are the big changes from the bill you voted on last time. If there are any questions, Mr. President, I'll yield for the questions. Otherwise, I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know the answer to this question that I'm posing to you, so it is a genuine question that was just raised to me by someone else. In the cuts that we did when we were here in June, the budget year that we're in now, we cut 10% pay to the members of the legislature.
Yes, ma'am.
To our paycheck. Now, did that get restored? Are we still down 10%, and are we moving into the end of this year with no restoration of legislator pay to the former level, the very low level that's been frozen at for, I've lost count of how many years. Is it 20 years? Senator from Macon would remember that, but could you refresh us on that and how it happened that the legislator pay in the midst of everything else did not get restored to its former level that we've had for 25 years?
Well, certainly. Thank you, Senator, for that question. And I appreciate you throwing it our way. Just to give some of the members the background, our pay is normally about $17,000 a year. We took a cut to our budget commensurate with the cuts that we were placing on agencies and QBE in the fiscal year budget of 21 for last year. You guys decided to be leaders, and I appreciate your leadership that you took it on the chin yourself. You said, if we're going to push this down on frontline workers, on teachers, on superintendents making QBE decisions, then we're going to take it on our chin as well. And so I appreciate you and applaud you for doing that. In this budget, that amount is not added back. The reason that it is not added back yet is because, again, we heard from you. You wanted to be leaders again. You wanted to lead at the forefront. And right now, we still have a roughly 4% reduction in QBE. It was at 10%. This budget restores 60% of that amount, or 6%. We're still at 4%, and I know that none of you wanted to take your full pay, and we've not yet been able to fully fund QBE, and I want to tell you thank you for being leaders on that point.
If you would yield for a follow-up question.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is, do you know, and you may not, what the amount is that is not in the budget as a result of cutting the legislator pay by 10%?
It would be roughly $1,500 times 256. So that's going to be 256,000. Add half back to that, 100. It's going to be about $350,000, maybe slightly higher, 400 at the most. But again, I don't think it's the dollar amount. I think it's the principle, and I just appreciate you guys being leaders on that front.
It's less than $500,000 that to bring us to our former pay level. That's what it would take to restore us to that in the budget, in this budget.
Yes, ma'am. But again, I haven't had anyone in the legislature yet asking that their pay be restored before QBE was fully funded or DOT members were fully compensated for the reductions we had to place in state contracts, et cetera. And I appreciate that.
Senator, you have no more questions.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. Senator from the 19th has moved that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 80. All those in favor will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? The hallway's clear? Got a thumbs up. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0, and the Senate has moved to agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 80. Continue to applaud the efforts of our Appropriations Chair and the entire Senate budget staff for the great work, and our friends over in the House and also in OPB. For what purpose does the senator from the 19th rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate immediately transmit House Bill 80 to the House, and I have a subsequent motion after that.
Senator from the 19th has moved that the Senate immediately transmit House Bill 80 to the House. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is immediately transmitted. Chair further recognizes the senator from the 19th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Article 3, Section 5, Paragraph 8 of the Georgia Constitution, I move that the Senate order that House Bill 80 immediately be transmitted to the governor.
Senator from the 19th has moved that the Senate order House Bill HB 80 immediately transmitted to the governor. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Part of a recorded vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by voting yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. What purpose does the senator from the second rise?
President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 10th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 10th is excused. After this vote, cannot be excused in the middle of the vote. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Got one in the hallway? Okay. Have all senators voted? The hallway is clear. Thumbs up. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0, and the Senate has ordered that House Bill 80 immediately transmitted to the governor. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption to Senate Bill 86? Senate Bill 86.
Senate Bill 86 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 15 of Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Fair Business Practices Act of 1975 so as to provide for requirements for solicitations of services, for corporate filings required by the Secretary of State, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to present Senate Bill 86. The distinguished senator from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Oftentimes, we have legislation brought to us, ideas for legislation brought to us from professionals in the hallways that are representing an industry group or trade association, and that's nothing wrong with that. The folks in the halls are a good resource for us and are experts in their field oftentimes. and can put us in touch with experts. But I'm always excited when I get an idea, a good idea, and feedback from an actual constituent. I mean, there's nothing like hearing from constituents on what their concerns are and some of the challenges and problems they see that they want us to address, and that is the impetus. Hearing from a constituent of mine is the impetus for Senate Bill 86. I was surprised to learn, 1,124,000 active entities, corporations registered with the Corporations Division of the Secretary of State's office. 1,124,000. The vast majority of these are small businesses, oftentimes a one-man or one-woman show. These entities are required to register, do their corporate registration annually with the Secretary of State's office, where they have to provide the registered agent, if it's a certain type of corporation, an S Corp or C Corp. They have to list who the officers of the corporation are. They have to, of course, provide the address, that kind of thing, at a cost of $50, and you can do it online at the Secretary of State's portal. I had a constituent contact me a few months ago, and he asked me why we had tripled the fee to renew your corporate registration. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I got an invoice in the mail. I've been paying $50 a year. Now it's gone to $150. I said, well, I don't believe we changed that. I don't recall that, but I will look into it. I said, how about bringing me what you got in the mail? And I know he smelled a rat about this. He was just kind of making a point. But he brought me the notice that he got in the mail. At the top of it, it says 2021 Annual Registration Instruction Form. It's got under that in smaller letters, Georgia LLCs, Limited Liability Corporations. It's got the name of his corporation on there. It's got a customer ID number, which makes you think it's official. It's got the address of the corporation. It's got the registered agent. Of course, all that information is public record, is where they're getting this from. But there's nothing on here to indicate to most people that this is not a official document from the Secretary of State's office or an invoice. So Senate Bill 86 addresses this deceptive trade practice, and if you look at line 12 through 16, it requires on these type of solicitations that some language be put on there to make it clear to the business owner what this is, and then lines 17 through 19 actually spells out what the language has to be. In 16-point font has to say this is a solicitation, this is not a bill or official government document, and has not been sent by the Georgia Secretary of State's office. That has to be on any kind of written communication or digital communication, just to make it clear to to Georgians what this is. A question was asked of me in committee when I was presenting this bill, what the penalties would be if you violated this statute, assuming it becomes law. And under Title 10, Chapter 1, Article 15, Part 2, there would be a fine up to $1,000 or confinement up to 12 months or both. Of course, that's at the judge's discretion. If there is under Code Section 10-1-405, if a Superior Court issues an injunction against an entity doing this, like a cease and desist order, for example, under Code Section 10-1-397, the entity that continues to violate such injunction could be subject to a civil penalty of up to $25,000 per violation, which with each day considered a separate violation. So it's a simple and straightforward bill. You might say much like the author, Simple and straightforward, but I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Be happy to answer any questions if there are any. If not, I'll yield the well.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 86? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? All senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of Senate Bill 33?
Senate Bill 33 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 51 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to general provisions regarding torts so as to provide a cause of action against perpetrators for victims of human trafficking and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes for the second time today the senator from the 45th to present Senate Bill 33.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President. I come to the well today again to present Senate Bill 33. This is a governor's bill and a continuation of the First Lady Marty Kemp's initiatives. I'm honored to bring this bill, to bring this piece of legislation and carry it on behalf of the governor and the First Lady. This is an issue that touches my county and many of yours and will be crucial in helping further protect and help victims, these vulnerable victims of human trafficking. It first creates a new code section to provide for victims of human trafficking to have civil cause of action against perpetrators. Second, it allows victims to recover damages and reasonable attorney's fees. And third, it creates a statute of limitations for filing such civil action and allows for a stay of civil lawsuit while any criminal action arising from an incident of human trafficking is pending. It allows the Attorney General to have cause of action against a perpetrator of human trafficking on behalf of the state under certain circumstances. With that, Mr. President, I yield the well for questions.
Do you yield the well, or do you want to take questions?
I would like to take questions, Mr. President.
Yield for questions. I got what you were thinking. The chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does Senator yield?
Yes.
I just want to say this is a good bill. Before I came to the Senate, I worked with women who were in these conditions. On your next two bills, I think they're excellent bills. Also, what does EC stand for?
Executive Council. Thank you, sir.
You have no more questions.
I yield the well, Mr. President.
They don't want to mess with you anymore. Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 33? Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Continue to be grateful for the First Lady's focus and efforts wrapped around trying to eliminate human trafficking here in our great state of Georgia. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of Senate Bill 32. Senate Bill 32.
Senate Bill 32 by Senator Brass of the 28th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 50-18-72 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to when public disclosure not required and for other purposes. Mr. President, on February 3rd, 2021, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chair. The Senate Judiciary Committee offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 32. To amend Code Section 50-18-72 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to when public disclosure not required so as to exempt certain personal records of state and federal employees from public disclosure and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Noonan with great hair today to present Senate Bill 32.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of this distinguished body, I present to you Senate Bill 32. And like the senator from the 20th mentioned earlier, it's great when you have bills come to you from constituents. This bill, too, came to me from a constituent. But this constituent might be a little bit different than your typical constituent. This constituent is a federal employee. And our current law allows county, city, and state employees to be exempt from certain public records such as revealing the employee's home address, their home telephone number, personal mobile or wireless telephone number, and various other information that we certainly wouldn't want out there. And just to give y'all a little bit of idea of the 28th District, we're located, my house is, I can get to the airport in about 20 minutes. And so because I can get there in 20 minutes, it's a great place to live if you travel. And a lot of these federal employees have to hop on a plane, or they work at the airport, or they work in Atlanta. Again, Coweta County in the 28th District, a great place to live if you have to do that. And so therefore, I do have lots of federal employees in my district. And all we're doing in this bill is we're adding federal employees to that list of employees that are exempt from these public records. So with that, Mr. President, I'll be happy to take questions or yield the well.
You have no questions.
I would appreciate y'all's favorable consideration for Senate Bill 32. Thank you.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 32? Chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Anyone in the hallway? We got a thumbs up. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of Senate Bill 34.
Senate Bill 34 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, and bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 12, Title 19 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to name change so as to provide that victims of human trafficking may petition for name change under seal, to provide for a definition and for other purposes. Mr. President, on February 8th, 2021, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chair. That completes the order, Mr. President.
3 times is a lot, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th to present Senate Bill 34.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come to the well today to present Senate Bill 34. This is the second part of the First Lady in the governor's bill in regards to human trafficking. This bill allows for victims of human trafficking to petition the court for a name change to request to seal their file. It also allows the court to waive the requirement of publication of said name change if they're determined to be a victim of human trafficking. Finally, it allows for the court to unseal the petition or order a redaction of petition for the public record later on. And I've also, in regards to this bill, had an incident in my district several years ago where a young lady was coerced by a human trafficking gang and was lured to a hotel near 85 in my district, and she was just hours away, and they drugged her, and she was just hours away from being shipped out of the county and the state when our local sheriff's department got a tip and raided the room and saved this young lady. And if this bill would have been law then, it would have been a huge benefit to her and her family, because they ended up having to change their name and moved out of the state because they had fears that this gang or part of this gang would come back, after her daughter. So this bill is near and dear to my heart. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the well for questions.
You have no questions.
I yield the well, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 34? Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill? All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Great day in the Senate as we combat human trafficking in this state. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock on Tuesday, February 16th. 2021.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the announcements?
Rules will meet upon adjournment in 450 of the Capitol. Public safety is canceled. Judiciary Subcommittee B will meet at 450 of the Capitol at 1 p.m. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs is canceled. Transportation is canceled. Regulated Industries and Utilities will meet at 3:30 and 4:50 of the Capitol. And Government Oversight is canceled. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I want to extend an invitation to you to the Working Families Caucus Luncheon. You can pick up the lunches in room 307 and then zoom in for the meeting upon adjournment of our proceedings today. The sponsor is the ACLU of Georgia, and we will be talking about the raft of voting bills that have been introduced in the Senate and in the House so that colleagues can get a thoroughgoing understanding of these bills and their impact. You're welcome to join us. Membership dues are due and payable. Thank you so much. I yield the well.
Any other senator wish to make an announcement? The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Tuesday, February 16th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senate stands adjourned.